Yeah, so my name is Michael Cotter, like welcome back Cotter, but with a C as opposed to a K, like the show.
Nice.
Um, and currently, I work for Caliver Beach Mortgage as a branch manager, and I also have another business called Motivate to Innovate. I basically I'm a certified life coach, so I sell life coaching as well as sales coaching. Currently, I'm working with small businesses. I got four moving companies right now. I'm teaching them like the basics of sales so that they can increase their bottom line. And I'm in recovery for almost 17 years, and that has been a very motivating thing to me. And the main basis of recovery basically calls for things like spirituality, but also masterminding, mentorship, accountability to other people in your circle who are trying to move in a certain direction. So it's essentially kind of like a blueprint for absolute success. It's kind of like a happy accident. It's not why I went there, but it ends up being that way. And then, of course, there's networking, etc. I don't know if that helps you.
No, 100% helps me, and I appreciate the opening up with that as well because it's from my experience, it's very we have some similar experiences in the extreme side of the dark side of life, and that's kind of with this podcast. I tell people it's about the grit of leadership, and people are like, "What does that mean?" I'm like, "Well, I interview CEOs and founders around the country and around the world. We don't just talk about the glitz and the glamour. We talk about what really got you there, the tears, the blood, the sweat, whatever you want to call it. But then there's another level, and there's those of us who went another level from that workaholic aspect and went right into, the substances and things like that. And I'm with you on that, and I'm standing with you on that. And I think that this is a conversation that, for me, I want more people to hear. And I want more people to understand. And I also, on the flip side, for me personally, alcohol was my vice. I became a raging alcoholic, not aggravated. I was not one of. I was the alcoholic. I was a high functioning alcoholic that was closing the bar at 3 a.m. doing deals, and I was still at my desk doing pitches at 6:30 in the morning. So it's like that's the way I was, and nobody knew it, and nobody cared because I was successful, and I was doing a lot for a lot of people. I was making other people millions of dollars. But I was just literally drowning, and I didn't see it either. And until my entire life fell apart, literally, and I was able to put it together, and I still put it together every day. I'm not telling you I'm fixed by any means, but I want your story. I'm openly in AA and things like that. Everybody knows that. I've been in those rooms. I've been in an outpatient system. I was down at Synergy down there on Carlisle across from the York Fair. It's one of those things where there's a difference in people like you and me where we own it and we wear it, but it doesn't hold us down. So talk to me a little bit about that, because that's what I caught from you in the literally, for context of anybody on the audience listening. We talked for two couple sentences last night, and we met for the first time on Facebook Messenger, and we're connected now live and recording. It's not live broadcasting, but it's live reactions. So tell me a little bit, Michael. Walk me through from your aspect of things. Let's just start with that part. Let's instead of going to the motivation of people that are actually working, let's talk back to somebody that's listening to this and doesn't have a job because they lost their license. Or let's talk about the reality of when you have a substance abuse issue and you get penalized for it, you got to find very creative ways to live your life. Otherwise, you're not going anywhere.
Yeah, I mean, it's all about. I learned a long time ago in my line of work, which is mortgages, that there's a solution to every problem, but the solution is within the problem. You can figure anything out. So I'll give you a couple examples. One example is my experience. So I got hired at a mortgage company for the second time in 2008, August. At that time, I had recently lost my driver's license, and I was on probation for possession of heroin. And so this guy hired me. I had to find a way to get to work every day, it happens that I work with some friends and I was able to go with them. So it wasn't as much of a challenge, but here's where the challenge came up, right? So I used to do in-home appointments, and we did 5 states. Legally, we could operate in 5 states at that time. And so I'm in Maryland, Owings Mills. So call it Baltimore for anybody who doesn't know Owings Mills. Just they call it Baltimore. And I had to go to Virginia. And that's like a 2 or 3 hour drive with no car, right? So when you refinance, you get an appraisal, right? So my boss said, look, make the appointments with these people and you figure it out later. So I remember making the appointment with this person and calling the appraiser and saying, look, man, I got this appraisal job that you're going on that we ordered here. Could I come with you? So I went there with the appraiser. Like, you figure it out. It doesn't matter to me. It's never mattered to me. Like if you want to do it, you do it. The only thing that's limiting you is yourself. I know a guy, I'm not going to tell his story, but I'm just going to say he was one of the top realtors in York County with no driver's license. And I know another guy who was like a top insurance salesman, no driver's license. You don't need a driver's license to sell things. You just need, a phone, and you need the ability to speak.
That's exactly right. When I lost my license. I sold it was right before COVID, and actually I had a year of no license, and then it was a year of blow and go, and the blow and go went right into COVID. And I literally the month that I was supposed to get it off, all the mechanic shops in York County shut down because of COVID, and I had the blow and go for like 3 or 4 months after that. And I was like, Jesus. And that was one of the things where it was like you just said, I'm a road salesman. And when I lost my license, I had no idea what to do. And I Ubered a little bit, and I caught some rides here and there with my ex-wife at the time, or whoever would give me a ride. But eventually I just started calling people cold from the house. And I just started calling businesses and saying, hey, I'd like to sell your products for commission only. And, you don't tell me how to do it, and I'm just going to do it. And when I bring you business, you pay me. And I did that for 2 years, like freelanced all over the place, just calling from the basement. And I feel you, man. It's definitely one of those things. Talk about, with your working at Caliver Beach now with the mortgage company. What drew you into that world? Was it a determination to go into that line of work, or was it kind of like we're talking about? It was the creativity, and then it also happened to work out as a security and a sustainable thing.
No, I just my father once told me many times. My mother told me to go to college, but my dad told me, hey, if you're not going to go to college, you should at least go to trade school. And I did none of that. And so when I moved to York, or got sent here rather, when rehab sent me here, I didn't have any. So anyway, I had a long. This is an industrial area, as the viewers may or may not know, and so I had a long line of restaurants, factories, and warehouses, and I would get fired from every job for various reasons. Mostly having to do with the fact that I simply don't know how to go to work every day. That's just the thing. And I called somebody in the program in the 12-step fellowship I was a member of and said, hey, are you hiring? And he said, yeah. And I didn't even know what this guy did. I just knew that he was in recovery too, and he did this job, and turns out it's mortgages. My very first question in training class was, what's a mortgage? Everybody laughed at me. I didn't know what it was. I just know this guy makes a bunch of money and drives a Lexus, and I want to be like him, So that's how I got into that, and it just turned out I had a fierce determination to prove to myself that I was worth something, and a fierce determination to break my past patterns. And so I really applied myself, quite frankly, honestly, for the first time probably in my entire life. And actually, turned out I did very well at it, because it's a smattering of skills. You need to learn how to sell, but you also need to learn how to be a detective. You need to learn how to be a lawyer. You need to learn how to be a lot of stuff. And so it's one of those things where you're never doing the same thing every day. You're always doing something different. And I have a scattered mind, so it's good to have scattered tasks. I do very well with those. If you give me one thing that's going to take all day, I'm not going to do good. I don't know if that helps.
I had 100% help, and I resonate 100% with you. I intentionally, when I graduated high school, I got introduced to the alcohol industry working in a beer distributor in Philadelphia. I was in the back fixing broken cases of beer, and then I'd go out on deliveries when they needed to drop some kegs in the bottom of a tavern or a basement or anything like that. And what I was going to say there is that, you know, you learn a different smattering of things, you learn a different aspect. But for people like us, like I've worked for singular people before, singular manufacturers before with one brand, and I can tell you, like, the brand could be awesome, and I could be a big fan of the brand, whether it's a consumable product or not. But doing the same cadence all day long and saying the same pitches and the same conversations, I literally want to jump off anything and just run away. And that's where, like, working through, when I got into the wholesale world, I learned how diverse portfolios existed. Like, and I worked in there, and then all of a sudden I started this wholesaler, and I think I had 247 brands I was selling when I was walking into a bar.
Wow.
And but I loved it. I loved it. And everybody else was like, so like, oh, this is overwhelming, this and that. I'm like, no, dude, because guess what? He doesn't like this one, I got this one. He doesn't like this one, I got this one. I was just like constantly, and that's what a lot of people couldn't do. They couldn't, in the moment, listen to the buyer and match the proper product with the right account. So talk a little bit about, like, a lot of people, I'm going to be just frank with you in this conversation that I don't do with a lot of people. A lot of people look at us like pieces of shit. All right. They look at us like we wasted our lives. We ruined things. We destroyed everybody's life around us. And we're just the scum of the earth. I even hear my own people in my life that talk about alcoholics like, oh yeah, he's just an alcoholic, you know? And it bothers me to the point where, not in a venting way, but in a way that I want people to hear you and I have this conversation today about the fact that there are different types of people out there that are dealing with, and there are people that can fucking change. And there are people that can make a difference. And I'm so fucking over listening to people talk about the fact that, oh, that guy's, and then just write their life off. You know, oh, he's a druggie. No big deal, whatever. So tell me a little bit about it, because it's inspired me. Once I got out of the shame, like when I got out of the shame, and it was a long time, but when I got out of it, I finally wear it as a badge. So talk a little bit about, for you, I mean, that's obviously what is driving you as well, amongst other things, with your coaching and everything like that. So kind of what type of people do you find that you want to target or bring into your network for your coaching? And then how does your recovery affect how you would be able to motivate somebody?
Yeah, I mean, as far as people I want to bring into my circle, you know, for my coaching business, you know, for the sales arm of it, you know, I'm just looking to teach basic sales skills. For example, price versus cost. You know, so the price of buying this thing is this, the cost of not doing it is that. Like something like that, like a concept like that, and how to apply that. You know, feel, felt, found, and, you know, just all that stuff, the product, the price, the person, you know, nobody really knows that stuff. And so you get into something where you're, you know, paying for Google pay-per-click, and then you get a phone call and you go out to a person's house and you give an estimate and you never hear from them again. Or you follow up and say, hey, you know, Ron, I'm just calling to see if you looked at estimate. Yeah, we went with somebody else. Oh, okay. And then they walk away, and that's it, because they are not salespeople. And I'm not here to make anybody a savage, but to teach these basic sales skills to take their conversion ratio from 70 to maybe 77%. You know, it's not a huge deal, but over the course annually, it equals many thousands of dollars. And I do all that right now for $100 an hour. And I usually do 2 sessions, 2 hours each, 4 hours. You know, the life coaching thing, I haven't done a lot with that yet. But I would just be looking for somebody who's standing in their own way, because life coaching has to do, you know, we all have friends, right? And you go to your friend and tell them your problem, and they give you advice, well-meaning advice, but typically it's advice based out of their experience. For example, oh, hey, I'm having a problem with my relationship, and I'm talking to you, and you just got divorced, let's say, a year and a half ago. Wife cheated on you, took you for everything you were worth, and you're like, oh, you got to get rid of that girl, man. They're nothing but trouble. And you're my friend and I trust you. And it's like, oh, maybe you're right. Maybe they are nothing but trouble. Versus a life coach where you encourage people to look for the answer within themselves and try to guide them by asking questions. You know, it's like very NEPQ type of thing. So, and helping people solve their own problems, which is pretty empowering. And as far as, you know,
You're good. Go ahead. Yep, you're good.
As far as how recovery plays a part, I mean, I've gotten very good coming up against, I live in New York, and so a lot of the people that I meet in these 12-step fellowships, They're typically more so down and out than others. No driver's license, no place to live, legal record, et cetera, et cetera. And I enjoy, for free and for fun, helping these people solve their little everyday problems as well as their drinking problem. But like, hey, I'm really depressed because I can't get a job. Well, why not? Well, I don't have a car. Okay, well, do you have a license? No. All right. Well, let's help you get the license. It's going to cost me $400. How much money do you have in the bank? $1,000. Well, all right, take 400 to get your license back. Like people are so focused on the problem in front of them that they can't see past that one problem. When in reality, that problem is basically just a piece of paper hanging there, and you just poke a hole in it, and there it is. You know what I mean? But people are not solution oriented.
I like the way you put that. And I think, do you find that are you looking to work with just business owners, or are you looking to work with really anyone that is looking to move their life forward in their career?
Anyone that I can help. I enjoy helping, and I've made a lot of progress, and at some point, those who can't do teach. And I'm kind of in a phase where I'm very burnt out with sales. I'll keep doing it because it's all what I've been doing my whole life. I don't know that I'm going to go to college and get a bachelor's degree in, biology or something at this point. I'm not going to do it because I don't care. I hate college. I'm just being honest. I've never liked school. They hold you hostage for like 12 years. If you're not counting kindergarten, then it's like 13 years. You're held hostage in a room with a bunch of people whom you've not chosen to spend time with, and you're forced to do assignments that really have no direct benefit to you because I don't know what. At least in my day, you learn. At least in my day, you got things like public speaking. You got things like, hey, let's teach you how to write a check. Let's teach you how to cook a meal for yourself. Let's teach you how to fix something, build a table. Like you learn things. But I don't want to get into politics.
No, but you are in the right area, and that's kind of, I was going to go that route in talking about like what types of scenarios for you specifically. And I want to drive home. We opened up talking about substance abuse and things like that, but I really want you to tell your story past the current. And the reason is we can do this in a way where your story can sell your business. So I want to step back and be silent and let you have the floor and the space to tell your story, and then we can use that as a launch pad into this.
Just so I don't take too long or go in directions which don't, meet the parameters of the current conversation. When you say my story, what does that mean to you?
Oh, I mean everything. Anything. I mean everything back to wherever. It doesn't have to be professional. Where I'm getting at is, in my statement is, how tell your story in all of its warts and glory, and to how it makes you someone that they should reach out to be their coach.
I should warn you, I'm long-winded. So how much time do I have to tell my story?
We got at 3:30. I got to go to Runkles to swap out my kayak registration. So you got till 3:30.
Oh, 3:30. That's an hour.
Yeah, you got plenty. Yeah. 3:28, 3:29 or whatever. I'll walk out. I got to close out.
All right. So, I grew up in a really good family, and my father and mother taught me with their own example the value of work ethic, the value of family, the importance of family, the importance of work ethic. They, went through leaps and bounds to care for us, and I learned a lot just by watching my mother and father. They were very strong people. We were not rich, but we had everything that we needed. And even a lot of things that we wanted, looking back on it, my mother and father made a great deal of sacrifice. So I do not have any kind of childhood where I can say, oh, well, hey, the way I grew up, you can't, but I didn't grow up anyway. That my memories are good. Maybe you ask my brother and sister, maybe you put me under in some kind of hypnosis and I come up with some other story and I've been lying to myself my whole life. I don't know, but my memory is things are good. But the deal was I was always kind of saddled with some kind of socially debilitating type of thing. So, like, I got put on Ritalin, methylphenidate, Ritalin in kindergarten. And so I immediately became very skinny because it's a stimulant. So now I'm skinny, not helpful. I had a bowl cut, not helpful. You know, I got glasses at a time when, you know, fashion was not taken into consideration. It was just like, hey, you need glasses. And so you get the big Coke bottle glasses. And, you know, socially, you know, you're not exactly getting your ticket into the club there. You know what I mean? They're not printing membership cards for you today. And then, you know, you couple that with just like a natural social awkwardness. And then you throw the glasses and the riddle and the haircut and the body type in there. And then you wrap it up with some complete and utter inability to play any kind of sport or do anything that anybody else does. And you wrap all that into a package, and it doesn't go well. And then I've had an eating disorder for over 30 years. So I still do. It's called ARFID, Avoidant Restrictive Food Intake Disorder. Look it up, ARFID. They find it in children mostly. And it initially identifies itself as being picky. And if you let it go long enough, which I did, you're stuck with things. But I'm not going to get into that. But that didn't help either. You know, anytime I played any kind of sport, like I remember playing, I'm the kid who's afraid of the ball. Always that kid every couple seasons. There's that kid that plays baseball, but he's afraid of the ball, which isn't good, right? Yeah, which isn't good. And, you know, you sign up knowing they're going to throw the ball at you. You know, so I guess you're just not expecting the ball to get thrown at you. And then it does. And I'm scared. I'm still scared if you throw a ball at me, like a baseball, like right at me, very fast. I'm not catching that. I don't need to catch it. You can catch it. You know, so just stuff like that. I didn't do good at sports, show and tell. You know, I would get distracted easy because I never wanted to do any. I get distracted easy, so I don't do homework. I don't do tests. I get bad grades. I started getting put in special classes and occupational therapy. And then I get into middle school and it just gets worse. I was having a hard enough time with these people that I was dealing with in elementary school. Now you throw me into some other thing. You know, Cub Scouts didn't work out. I failed that. I don't know how you do it, but I did it. I couldn't tell you how. I couldn't teach you how, but I did. Failed rec basketball. Don't know how to do it. Couldn't tell you. It happened. I failed T-ball. Could not tell you how that happened, but it did. You know, and then I was I got sent away for drinking problems. I got sent to psych ward. I got sent to outpatient. I came back. I got put in special classes for, you know, smart kids who were troublemakers. Basically, they stick you in a class and you learn all of your subjects in one class. I actually got like A's and B's for once in my life instead of D's and F's and C's.
Because you weren't distracted changing classrooms.
Yes, there's that, but also the lady who taught, Mary Carr, Mrs. Carr, knew my mother. So if you didn't do your homework, you got a call. You didn't get a report card 4 months later where you have time to kind of. You got a call that day. Your mother got a call. He's not doing his work, so I got forced to do my work, and I'm not a complete moron. It turns out, and I did good, but still Diet Coke is for smart people or people who have expendable income. So last year of high school, I didn't get my diploma. I got made fun of a lot in high school. I didn't get my driver's license, by the way, till I was 25 years old because I just didn't. I just was not motivated. I had no reason to wake up in the morning at all until I found alcohol and drugs. I had zero reason to be motivated for it. That was the very first time I was ever motivated. But even with the license, I never got it. I was in, I don't know what you call it. It was like a program. Like I didn't go to Votech, but it was a program where you took some different classes and you learned about things like OSHA, like blue collar shit. Just like, look, we know you're not going to go to school and you're probably going to end up at a plant. So we're going to teach you the stuff you need to know, I guess, and typing and things like that. And then I would leave school early every day to go to work. And I had a job coach. And then the credits from work would go to school. The hours from work, rather, would go to my credits in school. So like I got a diploma when I was 19. So, you know, and when everybody else was looking at colleges, I wasn't. When everybody else was coming to school late on their birthday because they got a driver's license, I wasn't. And it wasn't necessarily because of drugs and alcohol, although they did plague me. They did plague me a lot. I did have a lot of problems with them. It was just, I can't drive home enough the importance of the fact that like I did not feel good enough. I had labels on me, and I had no reason to believe that I will ever accomplish anything. And this is far before drugs and alcohol. I already knew there was no reason to have any plans for the future. My plans for the future were I'm going to live with my mother until a girl moves me out. And I'm going to go work for my father, even though I have to go to college to work for him. And that was it. I had no plans of any kind at all whatsoever. And then you throw drugs and alcohol in there, and that does not help. And I am not a functioning alcoholic or drug addict. I am somebody that once I get that started, it's anything I'm doing is gone. Anything I have, might as well just figure it's gone. And that didn't help me either, man. That sort of thing didn't help me. I tried to go to college, but I took creative writing, which is what you do when you're not very serious about college. That's the thing, class that you take because your mother says if you don't do something with your life, so you sign up for classes.
That was my favorite class.
I know, I love it, right? Think you're a writer, which you're not, and then that becomes your rehab. Your superpower in rehab suddenly is writing, and they tell you you're good at it, but that's just because they're supposed to encourage you. So you leave there with that false idea. But that's another story for another day. I was in halfway houses as early as 19 years old. I was in halfway houses, recovery houses, psych wards. I've been in a psych ward 7 times. I've been in rehab 3 times, outpatient twice. I've been in a recovery house 11 or 14 times. One of those numbers. I don't remember which one. I mean, I was in one of them 7 times. They just kept taking me back. But I just didn't know how to live. And I went to this one recovery house and they taught me how to live. I didn't know. I didn't know how to make my bed. I really didn't. I didn't know how to drive. I didn't know how to make my bed. I'd never had a bank account that didn't have somebody else's name on it. Today, I have many bank accounts with my name on it and many business accounts with my name on it with many dollars in it. The very first bank account I ever got with my name on it, I opened because they said they'd give me $20 if I gave them $1. And I was like, shit, I could use $19 right now. So I opened it. I still have an account at that bank today.
I remember when they used to do that, yeah.
Yeah, terrible bank. First National Bank, terrible. I said it on the air. Blur it out or don't. I don't care. Terrible.
Yeah,
I can't get away.
This episode, they used to be my bank. I'm just kidding.
I like Members First. That's my bank. But so I never had anything. I didn't know how to pay bills. I never paid bills. How do you do that? I didn't have a bill with my name on it. And these guys taught me how to put this recovery house through force. Taught me how to make my bed. They taught me how to buy my own food. They taught me how to clean. They taught me how to look for a job. They taught me how to go to a job. They taught me how to budget, how to pay bills, and I learned how to be a man, really, in a recovery house at 23, 24 years old. I got my license when I was 25. And people taught me how to drive. One person taught me how to actually use an automobile. I didn't know how to do that. Another person taught me how to drive an automobile in traffic. I did not know how to do that. Somebody taught me how to use an automobile on the highway. I did not know that. Someone taught me how to pump gas. I'm 25. And again, this is not because I was homeless in Kensington. I was this worthless and this far back in my life because I didn't believe in myself enough to really do anything. Drugs and alcohol did not help. Somebody taught me how to parallel park. Somebody taught me how to pump gas. Somebody let me borrow their car to pass my test, and I did the second time. And somebody gave me a job and somebody gave me a career. And they gave everybody this opportunity that was in the recovery rooms at that time. And most people didn't go very far with it, but I did. I stuck with it. It became something. And I relapsed many, 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 many times. And I got sober on August 1st, 2007. My last drink was the 31st of July, 2007. So the first day I didn't use anything was August 1st, 2007. And I had been downgraded from a suitcase to a trash. I had a backpack, like a JanSport. It's a nice one. It might have been an LO beanbag. I always wanted one of those. I got one, I guess. I think I still have it somewhere. And I had a knapsack, and I had a laundry basket with clothes in it that probably hadn't been washed in a year, and I had a couple really good trash bags. Now these were the contractor bags.
Yeah,
these are bags
5 gallons.
yeah, I mean you can. I mean it's they're like harpies. They're for life. These contractor bags. You know what I mean? And I moved into this recovery house. I was on the 3rd floor of a city row home in the dead of summer. They had no carpet. They had old wood subfloor because they had bed bugs. So they pulled the carpet up. So no carpet, and I was sleeping on a mattress on the floor with no dresser. And I had a car that was worth about, and at one time had been a $500 car, but through many accidents, I had downgraded it to roughly $300 car. This is a little while ago. And and that was it, man. I had to start all over again. And I had to pray every day to God to help me to forget about all the stuff I lost and just focus on today. And I focused on today, and I got a sponsor and did the steps and, that type of thing. And eventually I got my first apartment. I got my first cell phone in my name. I did have to give my driver's license up, but I managed to do very well with my job despite that. Mm-hmm. I got a new job, and I began to do very well. And make hundreds of thousands of dollars year over year over year over year, working for a mortgage company. And I'm somebody who never had a bank account in their name. In that time frame, I built a team of people that worked under me. I had a personal assistant, and I had my own telemarketer. I had my own suite at the company. I was #1 producer for several years. I bought 6 rental properties and 5 halfway houses. So I went from living in other people's recovery houses to basically owning them. So that was really neat. I take a lot of that for granted, and although you may think it's cool, I take it for granted heavily, which I'm not sure why I do that. But, I'm owning houses, and I bought my own house, and I married the girl of my dreams that I always wanted to be with, and I married her. And I have a long history of using women and having them take care of me financially. Long history of that. And I promised myself this time I'm not going to let that happen. And before I married her, I made a promise to myself. Before I ask this woman to marry me, I am going to prove to myself that I can be stable and consistent financially. And when I did that, I asked her to marry me, and she said yes. I'm supposed to marry her in Central Park, ask for her hand in marriage. But I got so impatient that I asked her at home. So it would have been a good story, but but whatever. We're still together for a long time now. And she got her PhD, and I was able to support her while she was in school. And while I was moving up in my career, she supported me. I don't know, man. I own sober houses and recovery houses. Well, sober houses and apartments, and I was able to do that. And then I was able to give a couple people jobs in recovery, and offer them an opportunity to feed their family in the way it was offered to me. And I was able to do that. I flipped a house in Baltimore, and I lost like $25,000. It was in 2011. It was terrible. Wouldn't trade it for the world, man.
A lot of lessons learned, huh?
Yeah, dude, it's a learning experience, man. And it's like, I don't know what you can see here. I'm going to try to turn the camera around for a second. I have my mugshot hanging on my wall in my office. And then this is my travel pass for probation. Going to the mortgage company every day. This is the house I flipped. That was pretty cool. And then I don't know if you can see this, but I had 72 cents in my bank account when I started back in the mortgage business this time. And I promised myself that I would never be broke again, ever. And I haven't been since. And I'm not saying I'm rich. I'm just saying I ain't broke. What else? I've had a couple jobs since then. I worked at this place for 10 years. That was unfortunately very toxic. And again, I was in a position where I felt like I wasn't good enough to ever work anywhere but this place. And I thought, no one else would ever want me to work for them, ever. This is the only place I'll ever go. And it was a very bad environment. To give you an example, this is one day at this job. Someone got thrown through a wall, the internet went down, and somebody had a seizure on the floor. This was like a day. Another day. Yeah, that's like a Tuesday. Another day, somebody needs some money, and someone says, "Look, if you let me shock you with the stun gun on video and put it on Facebook, I'll give you $50." It's a great video, you know. It was just a crazy place, man. But there was a lot of negativity too, physical altercations, two of which I was involved in. You know, it was a bad place, man. But I couldn't quit because where am I going to go? And then one day I said, you know what? I'm just going to make a couple calls and trust God. And I made one phone call, and someone's like, yeah, okay. And I went somewhere else. And I went from needing people to being able to rely on myself and learn from myself. And I became more empowered. You know, eventually I opened my own branch of a mortgage company. And it was crazy, man. What was it? My boss wanted me to drive to Maryland every day and sit in the hallway. So I went from being at like the helm of a bunch of stuff to sit at a card table in the hallway outside his office. And all I had was a laptop, a credit card, and a dream, is what I say. And, you know, he wanted me to prove myself. So I did. And then he said, okay, you can do your own thing now. And I lined up 5 or 10 interviews for employees. Nobody, like 1 or 2 people showed up, but they didn't take a job. I was looking at offices to lease. Didn't work out. Nothing was working out. I was like, what the fuck, man? You know, sorry.
You're fine. Trust me. There's no filter here at all. Yeah, you're good.
This is the cleaned up me. I was like, what the fuck, man? Like nothing is working out. This is like crazy. And then a couple days later, it was like March something, the announcement came across. Everyone's got to stay home, and it was COVID. And that's why it didn't work out, because God had and the universe had other plans. And so I built this mortgage company in my attic with a laptop, a credit card, and a dream. I did not let the fact that COVID was around stop me. And as COVID began to wind down, I began to build, and I got a bigger office, and I got a bigger office. And then one time I had 13 people working for me, and I doing a good job. But as it turns out, I was managing out of emotions, mostly fear and anger, which are essentially the same things. So I was a terrible manager. I really tried to help people. I really did, man. But I would let people work there that shouldn't, and then get angry at them for not doing what they're supposed to do, even though I basically let them do that for 6 months, a year. So how can I be angry? You know, but I'm resentful at them, and I'm behaving poorly. Somebody tried to attack me physically because of the way I spoke to people. Like, I had a rough time, man, because I managed solely out of emotion, and I don't really play my cards close to the vest, and that did not help me. And then the market in 2022 crashed miserably and just continued to bottom out to nothing. And each bottom led to me losing a few people and a few more people and a few more people until I had almost no one. And I had just literally, dude, like literally, bro, 5 or 6 months before that, I had rented a new office and doubled my expenses. And then I'm coming to work every day to this empty office. And all I had left was a couple people that work from home and my assistant that I really wanted to keep. And I couldn't afford her anymore, and I had to let her go. And then I was coming in this empty office every day, just thinking about, like, damn, man, like, where did it all go? And I tried to I worked from home for a little bit, and I tried to learn some other products, and then I finally got a new office. I downgraded, and I worked very hard to get my credit from a 550 to like a 760.
Nice.
Took me years. Thank you. Deleting collections, paying things on time, doing everything right. And I'm a man of my word, and I believe in things like integrity. And I believe that if I can pay someone, I should. And so I took out a $45,000 signature loan, $50,000, and I took $45,000. I bought my lease out. I'm still paying for that a year or two later, because I made a commitment to that person, to Rock Real Estate, that I would pay no matter what. And I kept my commitment. And it is not helpful right now to pay $1,000 a month for something I don't have anymore. But it's the commitment I made. And it's why I got good credit and why I'm respected in my community. And I got this little office, and I tried to rebuild again, and it didn't work out. And I come to work every day alone. And I don't care, because I'm okay with myself today, which in and of itself is probably the biggest success I have, is the fact that I'm okay with myself today. I don't love myself. Hopefully that happens someday. but I'm cool with me. Say hi to me once in a while. I hang out here and there. I don't know if I'm going to move myself in right now, but we can hang out every night. You know what I mean? Have a good time, but you got to go home. When it's bedtime. So, but we're getting somewhere. I used to not even want to come to my own house. Alone. Even in recovery, even being sober, and so I'm okay with myself today. And I just suit up and show up and try to serve my customers. And lately, I mean, I'm trying to grow, develop professional development. That's what my wife calls it. So I've always wanted to get a life coach certification. So I got one. And believe me, I hate school. Hate it. But I took 3 days for a boot camp class on the computer and gave up a whole weekend to Call of Duty for this. And because it meant something to me, man. And I love that I've been able to do that. I became a notary because I was bored. You would be surprised. It is frighteningly easy to do that. They give you 99 attempts for the test. 99. Basically, take it as many times as you want. I passed it the first time, but I mean 99
You had 98 more shots you could have taken.
Okay. I know. Crazy. I did that. Somebody I know was writing a book who was not an author. I asked them, like, hey, how'd you do that? And they're like, hey, I took this 12-week book generator class. It's this guy, Richard Nongard. All right. 12 weeks, $497. So I'm writing a book.
Nice.
Sales Slump 101. And it's a collection of my experience. There's 7 listicles, a collection of my experiences in going through sales slumps and how to break out of it and or prevent it or get through it. So there's that. And then somebody asked me, this guy here, Kinetic Movers, one of the best moving companies in the county, by the way, asked me if I could train him on sales. I never thought of that before. And I'm like, okay. He's like, how much do you want? And I'm like, $100 an hour? And he's like, yeah. So, and then I was like, you know what? I should start doing this. So I did it with JD Stern Moving, really good company there. I did it with a guy in Delco, a guy in Lancaster. I got some more sessions set up, and I'm going to try to start getting landscapers. So just people don't have sales skills. And the biggest thing about sales is Zig Ziglar talks about how if you're a salesman, you almost have to be embarrassed at a cocktail party. I don't know if they even have cocktail parties anymore. I don't think so. But at one point they did, right? Or whoopee parties. I read once in a book, which is like an impromptu party for no reason. And people got to be embarrassed today to be a salesman because nobody knows what it is. And I believe it's Brian Tracy defines sales as helping people overcome the emotional roadblocks that stand in the way of them making a decision for themselves. That's what it is. Because people always want to go for the lowest price or the brightest thing or whatever, and they don't know what's good for them. And sales is about identifying their problem and showing them what the need is. And if the need happens to be that the solution happens to be a product, great. If I can't solve your problem with my product, then there's no reason for us to talk anymore. Find another product. That's what sales is. And so that's what I'm trying to teach. And I get it's kind of an uphill battle because people immediately assume that I'm going to teach them how to convince people of things. I can't convince people anything. Brian Tracy, my favorite quote of his is, a man convinced against his will is of the same opinion still.
That quote is a very serious piece of, I heard that a long time ago and I've paraphrased it over the years in my own head. And I love that you as a salesperson as well and can say that because I have gotten laughed at so many times when I started out on my own because I didn't put, like, people would be like, what's the ROI? And I'd be like, here's what it can be, but there are 1,000 variables that need to fall into place in order for that to happen. Because I was in, when you have multiple touch points and products are being distributed, like you could sell 1,000 products, but if they don't actually make it there, did you sell anything? Like if the truck breaks down in the car crash or whatever else, like you said, the guy refuses the order or the guy just decides not to pay. I guess what I'm trying to say is that philosophy is something that I found that people appreciate, where I'm like, hey, listen, this is what, if I do these things and everything goes according to plan, this is what the result's going to be. But I need to understand that before we go signing into this agreement, you understand what the process is and understand at the end is really not in our control. All that I can control is the process. You know what I mean? Like I can't control at the end whether the person buys or sells or whatever else.
Yeah, that's what I tell people, and I'd be going over an option with somebody, mortgage wise, and they'd say, well, let me ask your opinion. Would you do this? And I would say, no, I wouldn't. But that's because I'm 40 years old. My house is almost paid off. I don't have children. I'm not paying for someone to go to college, anything like that. But I'm not you. If I was me, I would not do this. I don't need to do this, right? I don't need to pay off all my credit cards because I don't have any credit card debt very often. So, but you're in a different position. You're struggling right now, you told me. And so this might be something that might be good for you, you know? Or if I'm calling somebody up and they ask me to put a proposal together and it's not good, I'll call them back and say, hey, look, I got the numbers for you. It's nothing to write home about. It's not great. If you want to do it, I'll do it for you, but it's not the most amazing thing in the world. I don't insult people's intelligence. Look, you're going to skip a couple mortgage payments or defer. I'm not allowed to say skip. It's illegal. You're going to defer a couple payments. Maybe you need it. Maybe you don't. If you don't, because some people don't. I don't need to skip 2 mortgage payments. I'm not bragging. I'm just saying, like, I'm not going to refinance to skip 2. I'm just saying, like, I tell people, but I'll also tell people, hey, if you were to do this, here's how it could help you. And if you agree with that, then maybe we should proceed. I just let it go at that. Like, I'm not here to push anybody, but I'm not here to just let you go because you took a half a step back either.
And that's the number one thing is I think that I'm glad you said it that way. And whether this is like what we've learned in recovery and everything like that or not, I feel like I'm one of these people prior. I'm not like this right now, and it's very new. I joke around that it took a year to get the alcohol out of my system because the past 6 months I feel like I've had more clarity than the first year of sobriety. So I think I'm finally pickled away and rehydrated now. So what I was going to say was when you kind of go out and you go through that process and understanding that process, do you feel like personally, because I do, I used to rush it through everything, and it sounds like you did too, and you waiting for the next thing and keep going. My son's like that too. He always has, but even preschool, the teacher was like, he finishes everything so fast and he's going to do the next thing and blah, blah, blah. Do you feel like slowing down a little bit and respecting the process came from recovery, or do you think it came from like the sales training and the coaching or the different leaders that you've kind of had mentoring you in your life?
Pain.
Yep.
That's where it came from. Pain. Of years in recovery, 15 years of my 17 years at least, I have spent trying to beat the piss out of anything and everything and make it happen right now, because if it doesn't happen now, it's never going to happen. And I'm never going to be okay. And I never was okay because I said that I wasn't. And now the last year or so, I have slowed down a lot more. And there's an old singer named Sophie Tucker from the 20s, and she has a song called Life Begins at 40. And she says, life begins at 40 and I'm just beginning to live all over again. And I really feel like in the last couple of years, because I'm 42, that I have another shot, and I'm not going to mess it up, man.
I'll be 30, I'll be 39. I'll be 39 in 2 weeks, man. Right there with you.
Yeah. So, but I'm going to take this now, Les Brown talks about motivation. My favorite motivational speaker, he talks about, you're going to die. Nobody gets out of here alive. So you can either die playing in the bleachers or in the fields. And I'm going to go down with the ball in my arms. I'm going to do anything and everything. Wayne Dyer, he's like a spiritual writer and a speaker. He's got a movie. I don't know what it is. So I don't care. But he says that don't die with your music still in you. Other motivational speakers say that graveyard's the wealthiest place in the entire world because that's where dreams go to die. Les Brown talks about laying on your deathbed and all your dreams come to you and say, hey, we came to you to fulfill us. What did you do? Nothing. And I can tell you, other than family, I will not have anything around my bed because I'm going to do all of it. I don't care what it takes, man. I wanted to do Tough Mudder in 2011, and in possibly the worst shape of my life, I did Tough Mudder. It'll be like 5 hours. But the point was I did it. That was the point. You know, like anything, man. I just do anything. I'm gonna write this book. I don't know if it's gonna sell.
Doesn't matter. It doesn't matter. It doesn't matter. Because, exactly, because you're going to do the process to the best that you can do, and it doesn't matter whether it's successful or not.
It's always a success.
Exactly.
You know, like, you know, it's always a success, man. Like, you're doing something, you know, like my brother always says, man, you know, everybody starts, you know, when it comes to when I started lifting weights, and I said, like, I mean, I feel embarrassed. I can't lift very much. He said, everybody starts at the bar, you know, and when I was not working out as much and I was just walking or running every day, my brother told me, you're outlapping everybody on the couch. You know, I wanted to have a YouTube channel, and I got a YouTube channel. It's about movies and stuff like that. And I was really worried about that. My brother was like, you know, the only people who are going to criticize you were people who have never done anything,
yep,
who aren't doing something. So you don't have to worry. And he was right. I didn't. And I had all that real estate, and I sold it, and I felt like a failure. And my brother told me, you're not a failure. You wanted to be a real estate investor. You became one. And then you realized that it wasn't for you. So you sold your places. You were a success. You know, I flipped a house. A lot of money. But I did it.
Man, we are the fact that we live near each other, we're definitely going to be hanging out because we can tell some stories, and we are very like-minded in a lot of things. I can remember my daughter was born 2010, and I was very overweight. So I was a wrestler, rugby, football, all that stuff. But then when I got to college, the drinking just went to another level, and then I just put on a shitload of weight, probably about 100 pounds throughout the course of college, just drinking and eating shit all the time. And same thing there. When my daughter was born in 2010, I looked at myself in the mirror and I was like, God damn, I won't be able to run around with her. I won't be able to I was just I was drunk every night, hungover every morning, and just eating greasy foods. And same thing, man. I got up and said, you know what? There was down in Chambersburg, Pennsylvania, there was a race called the Osherman 5 Mile. And I hadn't gotten off the couch and I would get winded just by trying to run around the track one time. And I said, fuck it. And I went out and did it. and I went out, and it took me like 3 hours, I think, to do it. But I didn't care. And I same thing then after that, I did a 5K and never pursued running as a full-time thing. But I'll tell you as well too, in Dover, Pennsylvania. And so I had passed about a year ago, right out of COVID, I got into liquidation and overstocks. So I started buying pallets of overstocks at Target, Home Depot, all that stuff, and flipping them down in Dover and around down New York and stuff like that. And I'm buying tractor trailers and processing them in Dover at this warehouse. And I thought it was going to be awesome. I thought it was going to be really cool. And it was one of those projects you jump into, and it's out of your realm. It was something different than I ever did. It was owning inventory. It was like getting into a warehouse, actual physical space. And I learned within that 12-month process, and it failed due to natural disasters in the building. And finances didn't allow me to continue because the insurance companies are fighting each other over that. But with what I'm saying there is, I'm ranting and I lost myself. But I wanted to say to you directly that and in the recent months to a year, have come to realize I used to think everybody thought like me, and like I said, I'm 2 weeks away from 39 years old, and I'm just now realizing that the majority of people don't think like me. We think like each other, like you and I think alike. The majority of people don't think like us. And opportunities that we see, they see issues and challenges. And are we naive sometimes to get into shit? Yeah, absolutely. But the confidence and the determination to take that shot on the chin or that punch in the gut and keep walking forward, that's the difference. And that's why I hate when people downplay failures. And I'm like, I hate when people are like, because I got so much shit when I did it. Because they're like, oh, aren't you embarrassed? You had a campaign, you had marketing, you had thousands of people, all this stuff. I'm like, I was doing videos and everything like that. And I even did a video at the end. You know what I mean? I was like, hey, it didn't work. And the amount of people that sent me messages afterwards were just like, thank you for being honest. And thank you for just being like, it didn't work. And why didn't it work? Well, it didn't work because of location. I can tell you the million reasons why it didn't work. At the end, it ended up being financially, but I don't think in the long term, it would have worked anyway in the location it was at. So with what I'm trying to get at is do you find that those that kind of, let's say for you, where do you feel like you've bounced around to the rental to the office space as well as your house? Do you feel, and I'm going to put myself out there and say that I pursued office spaces and all kinds of stuff, I feel like, for my ego. Do you feel like that's the same for you, or do you feel like, you know, when you went through those rentals and getting those leases with Rock Real Estate and all that stuff, like, or what do you think? What do you, where was the fulfillment of solidifying yourself into an office as opposed to everybody staying remote? I guess is what I'm trying to get at. Did you want to put your flag down and kind of have a place where people could come, or kind of what was the agenda there?
I mean, initially it was, you know, I do want to be able to, if I'm investing money in people, I would like to be able to see them. Yep. And, you know, I'm more of a I handle problems better face to face. So initially it was that, you know, the way I learned mortgages, this is before pre-COVID, was you come to an office every day. I don't see how you don't do that. Yep. And I can't teach you through a computer screen. So we did that for a while. Now, and I wanted a new office, a bigger office. Now we're talking ego. I need a big, shiny office with a conference room and another bathroom and a kitchen. You know, it's gotta be, man. A parking lot. Christ. You know what I mean, dude? Closets. Why not? Yes. You know, all these offices for everybody and a front desk with a receptionist, you know, and all I had to do was send one or two people home who already wanted to work from home, and I could have kept the place I had, but I had to have the bigger office. And my boss told me, hey, look, you shouldn't do that. It's not a good idea. And I'm like, you don't know what you're talking about. You know, guy's been in business like 50 years. He knows nothing. I know everything, you know. And I got that office, man, and it killed me. And within a month, and then you get to the point where it's like, shit, I can't have empty chairs. Mm-hmm. What will people think? I got to start hiring people. Everyone, please come on down, you know, so I can fill these chairs, you know. And it didn't work out, man. And I ended up having to get a loan. Thank God I have good credit, a loan for $45,000 to fix that mistake. All ego. You know, the first couple sober houses I bought, they were money makers, and it was nice. And I was able to do something that nobody else did, which is provide quality housing. There's a lot of people, they open what they call a sober house, which is different than a recovery house. And you could basically just rent a house to somebody. And that's it. You put a couple people in the rooms, and there you go. I wanted to provide, handpick the people that live together and provide a premier, like, boutique sober house experience. And that first house, I did it. I had some great guys in that house, man. I love that house, and I love that experience, and I made money. I made decent money. I wouldn't trade it for the world. Also overpaid for that house. Didn't need to do that. And then the second house, I got lazy. The third house, I got lazier. Fourth house, lazier. Fifth house. And because you have so many houses and so many beds that I began to stray away from my ethics. And I began to stray away from promises I made to myself and values that I held close to my heart, because I got bills coming in that I can't pay if I don't start taking people that I don't necessarily agree with taking. And people died. And I don't hold myself responsible. They made choices, unfortunately, that they paid with their life. But two people died. You know, I had a fire. I had bed bugs. I had roaches. I had fights. I had people try to sue me. You know, I had legal problems. The city tried to shut down one of my places. You know, I had the rentals. And eventually I got into so much debt, man. One Main Financial. I got news for you. Nobody goes to One Main Financial when they have a 7-some credit score. But I did, because they'll give me 20 grand cash today. And then I'll go to Wells Fargo and get 5 grand. And then I'll go over here and get 5 grand. Over here and get 10 grand. Now I can buy a house. You know, and I would get all these loans, hard money loans, signature loans, credit cards. I had so much debt. It wasn't even funny. And people thought I was getting rich off these places. Dude, I wasn't making any money, man. I have no idea if I made any money. I made such a mess out of this whole thing, you know. And then I got a realtor to help me sell them all, and I went behind his back and talked to the buyers myself because I was so impatient. And who knows how many tens of thousands of dollars I lost, you know. And then I sold everything, and I wanted to play Monopoly in New York, and I got to. with 11 properties, and it was an absolute nightmare for me personally. And then I sold them all, and 5 years later, the real estate, I could have walked away today with $1 million, and I regret the hell out of it, man. But like my wife has pointed out, you know, there was those 2 years where you got rent moratoriums or eviction moratoriums and stuff. Like I could have had 11 places not paying me because simply they don't have to. I could be bankrupt. I could be dead.
Right.
I mean, who knows? I had a lead paint scare. When someone gets wicked, their child has to get tested every 6 months, and they found lead. And like, Jesus. And then that same like month, I had someone trying to sue me. I had the lead thing. Oh my God. Jesus. I'm glad I got rid of that stuff.
Yeah. And that's the thing is too, I think a lot of people don't, and I hate to say the word a lot of people, and I catch myself saying it a lot, but people don't realize sometimes that when they're looking at things and they see just because you have a certain quantity of something, they don't look at the baggage behind your back and what carries that. So not all the time. Like sometimes, yeah, some people hit it and they hit high margins and run with it and whatever else. But sometimes it doesn't work. And then sometimes we have to, the fact that you can admit, like, seek the subsequent houses and how it all fell apart. I feel like I respect that a lot, and I'm only recently coming to terms with that, as well as, yeah, like you said, man, it's like you got bills coming, you got to figure it out, and it's like, all right, am I going to cut corners here, or what am I going to do, you know? And you're right though, and your wife's right in telling you that, like, had you not done that, yeah, the big picture might not be here for you.
Yeah, I'd be screwed. But you know, I took care of everything, sold everything. I paid off all the debts, and I kept my credit score in the 700s. And wow. I got a lot of experience. You know, and it all, you know, and today I have a real estate business again, and I don't hold anything. It comes and it goes, and I involve my wife in it because she's significantly more reasonable than I am. And I have a partner who's also more reasonable than I am. And so we're able to make informed, correct, unemotional decisions. And so we make money. We don't lose money. You know, made a bunch of money last year. And that's not everything. You know, my job for so long, literally until like, what is this, May? 3, 4, maybe 5 months ago, my job was my identity for a really long time. And when this market crashed a bunch of 2, 3, 4, 5 fucking times, and I lost my identity. Because my identity for so long was my performance at my job. And when no one's throwing confetti at you and awards and trophies, and when you're not cashing checks the size of somebody's salary, and you don't have anybody working for you, coming to you, asking for help, and you're just alone, just you, my job became exactly that, a job. It's something I do to pay my bills. And I'm just like everybody else. And I went through a big, like, emotional, kind of nervous breakdown crisis for a few months where it's like, shit, this isn't me anymore. And now I got to figure out who I am. You know?
Yeah.
And that's frightening at, 42 years old, where it's like, fuck, I got to figure out who I am now. And I got to, and it's not all about money, and it's not all about things, but the fact that I have been able to go from 0 to 1 million means something to me. The fact that I'm good at a job, that I'm respected and have integrity in my field means something to me, because I am ineligible for rehire at the George Street McDonald's. So for anybody who's not from York, the George Street McDonald's is what we in New York City refer to as the ghetto Mickey D's. And I used to work there. I got fired from there. Today I live a few blocks away, but I got fired from there. I'm blackballed.
I've been drunk many times in that drive-through coming out of the bars from Market Street.
I have been homeless in that McDonald's many times.
I was going to tell you, a block away from there was one of the nights I thought about just ending it all. It was a snowy night, and about 2 blocks away from there was right before we had Ubers in York, and my phone died, and I couldn't find my car. I was so drunk, and I ended up just laying down at like Market and George or Pershing, and just woke up like right out of a movie, man, like fucking 3-4 inches of snow all over me and stuff, and just like shook it off and was like, yeah, that's a bottom kind of night for me.
Yeah, I've been homeless in that homeless, hanging out at that McDonald's for warmth. I've panhandled in the Continental Square, for change, for alcohol, for booze. I've smoked crack under the bridge over by Waterway Bar and Grill. I've lived at the YMCA. I've lived at the shelter and overdosed, in the parking lot of Route 30, and I got arrested on the corner of Princess and Queen, which is like quarter mile from my house, man. I met my wife a quarter mile from there for the very first time. I mean, it's all full circle, and that's why I love York, man, because this is like where I became a man, and like I don't even know, man. But like, I don't care about nothing, dude. If I want to do something, I do it. And that's what most people lack, is the motivation to say, you know what, fuck it. Why not? And, I have that YouTube channel. I haven't put a video on it in 4 years. I did it. It was something I wanted to do, and I did it. I'm going to try to write this book. I'm writing it now. It's something I wanted to do, so I'm going to do it. It's just what it is, man. This podcast, most people wouldn't reach out to you. They'd be scared. Scared money don't make money. Like Omar on The Wire says, man, Omar don't scare. And I'm scared to death all the time, to be honest with you, about a lot of things. Constantly worried about shit. But like, just do it anyway, man. And I recently, man, in the last year or so, I've met a couple people that I was so uninspired to do anything or to make any changes ever again. And I met some people. I met this guy right here, Future Solutions. It's owned by David Gatto. And I started hanging around him. And that dude has done nothing but inspired me insanely. And he actually spoke at Slaymaker Success Summit in Lancaster. Blew the roof off. One of the most inspirational people I've ever met in my life. And he just started, man, like just lit a fire that had been so dead and out inside me for so many years, and just lit it up. And then just like that, I run into a friend of mine, Jeremy. He's a realtor, and he was kind of in the upswing of his career, and he turned me on to books and mastermind classes and just all this stuff. And he suddenly just, the fire that Dave Gatto lit, he started throwing gas on it and lighting it up. And I just started getting inspired and motivated all over again to chase my dreams because of these men. And that's the importance of keeping good men and or women around you. And so that's Future Solutions, David Gatto. I wore his shirt today because I got a sweatshirt too. When I wear his stuff, I feel empowered because he's an empowering individual. And it just goes to show, man, like, dude, we're all made up of the same cells, all of us. If one person can do it, you can too.
Yeah. You know what I mean? I'll do a shout out too for Kyle Slaymaker. Him and I never met in person before. We live in New York as well, obviously. But I listened to your episode with him on his podcast, and I know he's out there grinding and doing his thing. And anything we can do to build up the industry, that's kind of, or the industry, the community, and everything like that. So, hey, Michael, I appreciate you taking the time today. Yeah, man, I can't wait I want to hang out with you in person, to be honest with you. So I'll send you over my information and stuff like that. I live over in West York, out behind the Target. So yeah, we can definitely link up and stuff like that. So we'll close out here, and as you kind of give everybody an opportunity to figure out where to find you, LinkedIn and anywhere else that they want to catch up and follow your journey and link up with you.
Yeah, so I'm at motivatetoinnovate.com. All right, so you spell the word motivate, spell the word T-O, and spell the word innovate.com. And I'm also, my Facebook handle is Motivate to Innovate. You'll know you've come to the right place because there's a black and white lighthouse on the ocean. My Instagram, I have one, but it's barely working, so it's not worth mentioning. My regular Facebook is Michael Patrick. I don't have my last name on it, but you can see a lot of my stuff there. But Motivate to Innovate, though, is where I have a lot of really good videos there and book suggestions. And you can message me at Motivate to Innovate or on my personal page, and my cell phone number 717-424-6327. I will help anybody, anytime, anywhere. I live right in New York, and I'm just here to help and to serve other people. There's I got it tattooed on me. No one has ever become poor by giving. It's a quote from Anne Frank's diary, and there's another one too. Oscar Schindler has it chiseled on his tombstone. He who saves one life saves the world entire. So, yeah, there it is.
Thank you so much. Thank you so much. I'm looking forward to your future, and I'm looking forward to getting to know you more down the road.
If you have a story to share or you know someone with an inspiring journey, the FreeMind Podcast wants to hear from you. Submit your story or nominate somebody to be our next guest. Check out our website, thefreemindpodcast.com, and be a part of the conversation that truly matters.